So next we will discuss about women movement. Okay, now when we discuss about women movement, I have told you we will be covering certain other topics also when we discuss about women movement. So one topic that we have missed out in family, that is patriarchy and sexual division of labor, right? So patriarchy and sexual division of labor we are going to cover here. Apart from that, we are also going to cover violence against women. Okay, so this too we will cover, and as a solution to this we will be talking about women movement. Okay, so we will cover this these two. Patriarchy, we will try to understand what is patriarchy and what do you mean by sexual division of labor, why particular sex is doing different kind of occupation, okay, why that kind of difference is there. Then we will also talk about various violence. Many times I have discussed manifest violence, latent violence, etc. Exactly the same thing. I'll make it formal here so that we can complete that particular area also of the syllabus. So this is coming from last chapter of your paper 2, violence against women. So this is from family, paper 1 and paper 2 is there, so we'll cover it together. Then we will discuss about various measures to control this. So government side there are measures, from the state there are non-government measures. That is what social movement. So here we will discuss about women movement. So here, before we discuss about women movement, I am trying to develop the context. So if the question is about women movement, make the context from patriarchy, violence against women, and go through the women movement. Otherwise, this can be a separate question because this is directly there in your syllabus. You can see time and again this question is asked. Violence against women is also a separate question which can be asked in sociology. Not only sociology, in your GS1 as part of Indian society, in your essay also this question can be asked. So very important topic. Okay, but these are very simple things only. There is nothing much to discuss here. We'll just go through it. You know this difference already, sex and gender. Okay, so we have discussed that in stratification. So sex refers to biological difference between male and female, whereas gender refers to a particular set of attributes or belief associated with each sex. Do you want me to discuss this point again here? If you want, I can do that. We've done that in stratification. I've told you there are natural differences, right? Natural differences. So here, what is a natural difference? Sex. So when with the natural difference you try to attach certain values, then it will create an inequality. It will create evaluation at the individual level, then later evaluation at the cultural level, then there will be a ranking, etc. So it will finally become this gender, and gender role will be constructed. So that is what so gender refers to certain attributes like superiority, inferiority, preferability, rejection, right? I'm expecting that you know that. We have done this in stratification. Different societies have different conception about gender. The social roles are often differentiated on the basis of sex, which are referred to as gender roles or sexual division of labor. So sexual division of labor is what? The social roles are often differentiated. Now very famous feminist sociologist is there, Anne Oakley. According to her, the mother's role is also culturally constructed. Actually, this is not the women's role. It is culturally constructed, not giving birth to the child. When I am talking about mother's role, it is not giving birth to the child. It is obviously biological. So biologically, whatever is there, only female can give birth to the child. So that is there. But the role of mother, that is different than giving birth to a child. The role of mother is like when we discussed about Parson, I have told you emotional head, instrumental head, etc. Right? Apart from that, the mother have to take care of the child. Mother have to resign from the job, or mother have to take a long-term leave, right? So and have to take care of the child, etc. This is something which is socially created. It is not, natural. Okay, so thus a gender is culturally constructed. The sexual division of labor is not simply based on biological difference, but is generally colored by gender roles. The division of labor on the basis of sex is culturally constructed. For example, the housewife role of a woman in traditional society is typical example of sexual division of labor. Okay, you can add this also, Anne Oakley, here if you want. Since these are radical feminism, I am not adding that. Okay, so the problems associated with gender are generally understood in terms of authority or dominance of male or female. Okay, so here what are the main problems connected to gender? It is basically because of authority or dominance of male over female. This authority or dominance is what you call as patriarchy. So patriarchy is nothing but the authority or the dominance which is experienced by male over female. That's the patriarchy. So this pattern of authority or dominance is understood as patriarchy. The term patriarchy can be understood at two levels. Firstly, in terms of general authority given to male in the society. So at the level of society, you will find this kind of inequality or this kind of authority. In society also, male is preferred, male is superior, okay, male is desirable. So authority is actually given to the male. This is rooted in various cultural practices which give preference to male. Secondly, patriarchy can also be understood in terms of coercion or dominance faced by women in society. So what is that? It is in terms of discriminatory and exploitative practices like very less wages, salaries, more working hours, etc. Taking women for granted. Also sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, everything will come here, which is not accepted by culture directly but are practiced widely. Violence against women. Okay? Now the pattern of patriarchy can be observed at two levels. So firstly, within family you can experience patriarchy, like who is superior? The father is superior, or the husband is superior, or the brother is superior, right? So this you can see in any family, where male exercise both authority and domination over female. This manifestation come in the form of sexual division of labor, preference for male child, roles in decision making, violence against women, etc. So I don't think that I need to explain any of the term here. You know all this. Secondly, at the level of wider society. So wider society, what we see, the exploitation that women facing is nothing but the extension of familial pattern. So violence against women, you can see the domestic violence at the level of family, that will be extended in terms of sexual harassment at the office place, etc. Like that. Okay. So everything is extension of, like the example is there, confinement of women to a particular job. In house also, like sexual division of labor, right? You will be confined to the kitchen, you will do that kind of activity. Okay, similarly violence against women in terms of sexual harassment, dowry, prostitution, indecent representation of women, all these you can write as an example. In India, patriarchy is rooted in cultural context. Indian culture contains clear prescription with respect to gender roles, thereby constructing a strong notion of patriarchy. Various sociologists have understood this process in terms of Indological perspective. Sociologists like Gure, Prabhu, Kapadia, Karve, Airavati Karve, and later sociologists like Lila Dubé, Uma Chakravarti have attempted to understand patriarchy by comparing the actual reality and the one which is professed in books. Different studies on patriarchy have concluded that, what is the conclusion? Women in various religious texts have been portrayed as goddesses, but at the same time, in other texts, they have been relegated to other positions which are detrimental to their status. So in some textbooks, they are treated as goddesses like Lakshmi, Saraswati, all these Durga, all these goddesses are women, right? But in some other textbooks, in some other contexts, their status is totally detrimental. Various cultural practices, prescriptions like preference for sons, discriminatory rituals, excessive importance of the purity of women. See, if you remember when we discussed about family, I've told you a person cannot renounce the world without procreating a son. Okay, so you might have heard these concepts like son meta preference. What is son meta preference? Any idea?
Sir, there is a desire for the son. It has been discussed in eco survey.
Yeah, you keep on having children till you get a male child. Okay, so that is son meta preference. Because it is a kind of social security is assured with the male child. That is the expectation. Okay, so the parochial idea for the nature of women are the dominant reason responsible for the continuation of the discrimination against women. Apart from this, Western scholars forwarded various theories which are responsible for discriminatory gender role leading to patriarchy. So these theories, okay, this theories, nobody is going to ask you what are the theories which lead to patriarchy. Okay, what you need is there is a biological theory which is given by Murdoch and Parson. To some extent it is relevant because it is given by Parson. Biologically, male is superior. That's it, nothing more. You can read from Essential Sociology, Harlem Bose, all the textbooks it is mentioned. These are optional reading only. There is no point in discussing this in the class. It is not worth discussing in the class. Biological theory, seeing this itself you will understand. Biological capacity is therefore male. That is why male is experiencing the authority, dominance, etc. Secondly, economic explanation. That is by Engels. Okay, Engels. This you need to correct, Engels. Thirdly, occupational theory is there. Like woman is considered as a secondary breadwinner. Even the husband and wife is working, woman in that family is considered as the secondary breadwinner only. Even though woman is having more salary, she is still considered as the secondary breadwinner in that family. That is given by Frank Parkin. Okay, not Frank Parkin. Secondary breadwinner, you just write that. Class theory. This is given by Frank Parkin. So class theory means female never identified in her own status, but based on the family status, either based on the father or based on the husband. Okay, so if you remember when we discussed about caste mobility, do you remember I have discussed two concepts? Can anyone recollect that? Anuloma and pratiloma, or hypergamy and hypogamy. You remember hypergamy, hypogamy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we discussed this already, and I've told you hypergamy is when, this is anuloma, is when like a Kshatriya woman
marrying from a lower caste to upper caste.
Yeah, a lower caste woman, that is Kshatriya woman, let's suppose, marrying a Brahmin. So your status are actually changing. Okay, so there is a mobility for female. Secondly, a Brahmin woman marrying a Kshatriya man, your status is coming to the Kshatriya status. So it depends on the other person at the caste level also and at the class level also. Frank Parkin, when he talk about this, is at the class level. I am also extending this to the caste level. You can talk about that. Even though it is in paper 1, still you can talk about caste. There is no restriction. There are some students who think that you cannot talk about caste in paper 1. Caste is very much important. You can, whenever it is required, you can talk about caste. Okay. Then cultural theory. Like mothers, yeah, I've already told this. Anne Oakley, mother's role is culturally constructed. So go through these theories, everything is there in Harlem Bose. You just need to go through Harlem Bose, and maybe in Nitin Sangwan also you can go for this. Okay. So one time reading is required for this anyway. So you will get some better idea. So that's about patriarchy and sexual division of labor. Whatever addition come to your mind, whatever we are going to discuss in the next topic, that is violence against women, also can be added in patriarchy. So any doubt is there in that topic? Okay, can we discuss about next topic, violence against women?
Yes, sir.
So violence against women, I have already discussed many times. When we talk about violence against women, first we will talk about manifest violence, right? You will make this division, manifest and latent. Manifest means what? It is a direct aggression against women. Manifest, something which can be seen, directly seen. Latent, it is hidden. Hidden means it can be discrimination. Okay, so this is hidden in terms of discrimination. So manifest and latent. Within manifest, further you need to divide. How? Within, tell me, within family and outside family, or the wider society. Wider society. But understand, within family, the extension is what you see at the wider reality. So here also, within family, and also you will see at the wider reality. Okay, so you can see here I have already given. Okay, so violence against women. Now this sentence you can write anywhere. You can just cut, copy, paste this sentence in your essay. See, you all are from different parts of the country, so you will not face any problem. You can write exactly the same thing in your essay. So Indian society present a paradox of dual conception of women. On one hand, women is worshipped as goddesses, and on the other, she is denied an independent identity and status. So what is a paradox? You can write this paradox. Okay, in actual practice, the status of women in general is considered lower than men, for sure. Instances of violence against women are reported as well as witnessed throughout her lifespan. Again, you can write this. This is a very good statement. Women face such instance as an infant, as a daughter. As an infant, what she face? What is the main problem as an infant? Tell me fast, we don't have time. Yeah. Infant mortality. Just tell fast now. Infant mortality, right? Nowadays it is.
Yes, sir.
Nowadays.
Discrimination.
So infant mortality, infant mortality, infanticide. Okay, so infant mortality is okay. That may be because of various other issues, cultural issues, many health issues, etc. Infanticide. And ban on female infanticide was actually introduced during British time. Which Governor General? Ban on female infanticide and ban on human sacrifice, one Governor General. I think it is Lord Hardinge. You should be knowing it clearly. That is part of history. So that was around 1830s or 1840s, just before Dalhousie. And you cannot see such kind of reforms after 1857 revolt, because they understand the most important problem of 1857 revolt is because they are touching the religion. Because female infanticide is something which was practiced among one particular caste. Which caste? Not John Shore, yeah. John Shore, where John Shore is standing? John Shore is in 1793. No, Tejashwini, not John Shore. John Shore is not in the picture of history actually. Only in permanent settlement we talk about John Shore. Apart from that, not much contribution from John Shore. John Shore is popular with permanent settlement that was implemented by Lord Cornwallis. This I think was Hardinge. Okay, female infanticide. I'm not sure, but you need to refer to that. I just mentioned here. Okay, what is more important is among which caste that was there? Female infanticide. Kshatriyas. They don't prefer, right? So northern part of India, among Kshatriyas, this practice was there. So nowadays, especially because of ultrasound, instead of infanticide, what do you need to write here? Why you are not able to tell this? Feticide, right? Feticide, as if feet itself, she's facing the problem. If you are born as woman in the girl child in the womb itself, then you will be killed. Feticide is more prominent because of ultrasound especially, and that led to PCPNDT Act. It led to a legislation. So understand the importance. PCPNDT, Preconception, Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act, which year? 1994. Okay. So all these things has to be known to you from GS point of view. This was a GS question in 2010 mains. It will be repeated also. Okay, so feticide, infanticide. What about daughter? As a daughter, what is the problem? Discrimination, right? Compared to the male child, discrimination will be there. Sister, dominance. Wife against domestic violence, etc. Okay. Daughter-in-law also, problem is there. In old age, again, as a widow also, there will be a problem. Okay. So all this you can write. At the level of wider society, various acts of violence can be understood considering women as a category. Violence against women can be understood in two forms, manifest and latent violence. Manifest means the actual act of aggression against women, whereas latent violence is the form of discriminatory practices. So we can see here manifest within family and wider reality. So within family you can see what are the main manifest acts. Domestic violence, okay, that led to Domestic Violence Act. So you can talk about that led to a legislation. See, something leading to legislation means that has to be so much impact. Infanticide, feticide, forcible sex, marital sex. Okay, is it legal or illegal?
Yes, sir, legal now. In our country it's legal, it's okay.
It is legal. Actually, Justice Verma committee recommended for criminalizing this, but still it is not criminalized. Okay, so marital sex is actually not illegal. Okay, is it ethical?
Sir, not ethical.
So is there any contradiction between what is legal and what is ethical?
Yes, sir.
So if let's suppose this is legal and this is ethical, sometimes some things which are legal are not ethical, right? So here you can see legal, not ethical. Some things you will see here ethical but not legal. Okay, so what is actually required? what Gandhi says is this has to be the, okay, this is actually part of ethics discussion. We will do that later after your prelims. But what about AFSPA? Is that legal?
Yes, sir.
You know
AFSPA
AFSPA?
is legal.
Armed Forces Special Power Act?
Yes, sir, it's legal.
Legal. Is that ethical? Unlimited powers are given, and that led to harassment of the power, leading to a lot of rape,
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of killings, etc. So, okay, so
It's not ethical.
yeah, okay. So we are discussing in this context. Leave it. Forcible sex, wider society, sexual harassment, rape, prostitution. Okay. Now we talk about latent. So when we talk about latent, we will again talk about within family.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, prostitution we can say ethical or not?
prostitution. The context has to be decided. See, different schools of thought is there. So do we need to discuss that here? Even we don't have
No,
time.
I just asked. No, sir, no need.
In some context, we can say see, we have to define the context. Different ethical thoughts are there. Consequential ethics is there. Deontological thought is there. Utilitarian thought is there. So if I need to explain the answer for that, I have to explain those different ethical thoughts. Otherwise, I can't say anything.
No needs.
Okay.
Okay, no need.
From the societal point of view, obviously, it is not ethical. It is not ethical.
Yes. Yes, sir. Same thing I was asking.
Yeah.
But from the person who needs money and all the things, it's like so. Okay, sir. We will discuss in that.
That we will do later. So then when we discuss about latent violence within family, discrimination in education, okay, these are discrimination in health, food, etc. Subordination, preference for male child, wider society, lower wages, traditional role expectation, glass ceiling effect. What is the glass ceiling effect? See, women can go, nowadays there are huge mobility, women getting education, you can move from clerk to some level, but beyond a level at the top position like chairman, director, etc., you cannot move. So there is a ceiling here, but that ceiling is not for the male. They can move, but hardly you will see female at the top of the big companies, okay, big PSUs, etc. So that is what understood as glass ceiling effect. The ceiling is not seen, ceiling is not visible, but there are something which is hidden that restrict you from here. But nowadays, if you see most of the public sector public sector undertakings, you can see female as at the top position. Okay, this is still relevant, but that is actually reducing. That idea is actually challenging now. Okay, so mainly this is the structure that I want to give you. Now you need to develop from here. You can write whatever come to you. You need to give your perspective. You also need to add thinkers. So I would strongly recommend you to read Veena Das here. You will get some content from there. You can just go through Essential Sociology also, very limited content, but you will get some thinkers. Okay. Then also read Vajiram here in this context. So this should be the structure of your answer. Any doubts? So tomorrow we will discuss about women movement. We discussed about patriarchy, and we have discussed about violence against women. And then now what we need to see is women movement. Before that, what were the efforts to solve this issue? So we need to see from government side and also non-government, right? So non-government means what? This is the people's action. People's action. So this is the collective action, right? This is a collective action. This is what? Social movements, or we can say here women movement. So here women movement is what we are going to see. But before that, what was the welfare state action? You can see some specific initiatives, right? Specific initiatives. In case if you get a question in GS and all, violence against women, this also you have to obviously write the efforts from government side, and also you need to write about the people's action, NGOs and collective actions. So specific initiatives means what? Where there are various constitutional provisions, okay, like equality, various legislations are there, Domestic Violence Act, dowry prohibition, etc., right? So all these are aiming to improving the status of women with an assumption that violence will come down. Okay, so apart from that, there are some general measures like government programs for women education, health, economic support, etc. Various government policies like 5-year plans. So everything, all those things will come under this. But all those things are not enough and not sufficient. That is the context for women movement. And when we talk about women movement, pre-independence also women movements were there. But most of the women movements are, under the nationalist movement, right? So under nationalist movement, but post-independence, immediately after independent, women movement got suppressed like any other movement because of the welfare policies of the states, welfare initiative. But then later you can see various women movements. So we will see pre-independence, and even before British period also we will see. So women movements address various socio-economic political problems faced by women as a category. These movements must be understood within the overall context of patriarchal Indian society. So patriarchy means it is basically male dominance. Apart from this, women movement also addresses various problems faced by women in the society which are not necessarily linked to male dominance. Although in India the question of oppression of women and the related issues had been addressed by various socio-religious reform movements during the pre-British period, but in the modern context the women movement have their beginning in 19th century socio-religious reform movements. Okay, so in the pre-British period the reforms were envisaged within the overall framework of religious reforms. During the British period, for the first time, the reforms aimed at giving the women the due social space by promoting participation of women in society. During British period, various types of women movements can be understood. A broad analysis of these movements revealed that the women questions were addressed within other movements. Mainly when we talk about other movements, within Kisan Sabha movement, like the peasant movement also, women issues were addressed. Okay, and the pure women movement hardly had their existence. It was not there. Pure women movements you cannot see. It was along with, it was part of many other movements. It is part of backward caste movement. It was part of peasant movement. It was part of nationalist struggle. Okay, so these include liberal reformist movement. Like Brahmo Samaj is talking about women issue, Prarthana Samaj, etc. are examples, right? So here you can talk about anti-sati issues. Reformist, revivalist movement, even Arya Samaj is also supporting Ramakrishna mission, peasant movements, Kisan Sabha movement that we have discussed yesterday, national freedom struggle, okay, which emphasized on increasing participation and pressurizing the government for women policy for undertaking appropriate reform with respect to widows, age at marriage, women education, infanticide, etc. So national freedom struggle, all these are addressing women issues. You cannot see any specific women movement during this time. So this is not specific, this is not specific. These are reformist movements, these two. Okay, liberal reformist, and these are also reformist movement. This is peasant movement, this is nationalist struggle. So no pure women movement you can see before independence. That has to be your one part of your answer. So now we will explain this. In the pre-independence period, women movement addressed the general issue relating to women. In general, the women leadership was rare and the leadership was provided by the male. So this is very important point. Leadership was rare and provided by male normally. The ideology of the movement varied as per the parent movement. For example, ideology in this case and this case are entirely different. Okay, so this is a liberal reformist movement, this is a kind of revivalist movement. So here all these ideologies are different, leadership is also different. Even so that is why ideology varies based on parent movement. Even other movements like tribal and working class movement also to a lesser extent address the women question. For example, even when we talk about Santhal rebellion, one of the most important reason for Santhal rebellion is actually because those Dikus, I've told you what you mean by Dikus, the outsiders. For Santhals it hardly matters whether you are an Indian or English. If you are an outsider, you are treated as Diku and you will be attacked and killed violently by the Santhals. Obviously the state retaliated and state will only have the final law. But the main question was the tribal women were exploited by the Dikus. So that movement was also actually against exploitation of women by the the Dikus, outsiders. like all these PWD officials, etc. All these movements address the issues relating to the women in the urban area. So it was initially urban centric, and the benefits also reached urban women the most. Similarly, these movements remain elitist. Elitist means in the upper class, focusing on the upper caste and upper class women. Although these movements were successful in highlighting the problems of women, but the actual achievement was far from satisfactory. It was not that great. Not great achievement you can see, but some achievements was there. Post-independence, like every movement we write post-independence, immediately it got suppressed because of the welfare state, right? So same thing, women movement immediately after independence got suppressed because of the welfare initiatives taken by the government. By the end of 1960s, it was felt that in spite of state's effort, the improvement of status of women is far from satisfactory, not able to improve the status of women. The external developments like the Women's Conference in 1975 and Declaration of 1975 as International Women Year gave an impetus to organize women movement coordinated by voluntary associations of people, both formal and informal. After 1970s, mainly three types of movements are witnessed. First is basically developmental women movement. Okay, it is actually aiming at improving the economic conditions of women by providing economic opportunities and education to women. The question of women liberation was addressed to economic independence of women as well as the country. SEWA, Self-Employed Women Association, initiated number of efforts to provide employment opportunities to women. Presently, it had national and international importance and influence. Similarly, various other cases like choir workers in Kerala, Lisai Puppet Movement, Shetkari Sangetna, etc. All these are targeting improvement of women at the economic level. Secondly, ecological women movement. So that you will directly understand that we are going to talk about Chipko movement, Visai Virar movement, etc. And mostly local leadership, and all these were highly successful. So these are ecological women movement. Then issue-based women movement. Issue-based means specific. It is coordinated by NGOs and leadership is provided by both upper and middle class, mainly anti-dowry movement, anti-alcoholic movement, anti-sati movement, female infanticide movement, sex workers movement, etc. So these are specific movement, issue-based movement. So this was actually asked as a separate question, issue-based women movement. So what you need to do there is you need to talk about various issues that women facing and the movement for that. See, this topic is very open to all of you. I am giving you the structure and I am giving you enough content which is required for you to write the answer. But apart from that, whatever points you come across, you need to incorporate in your answer. This is a very open-ended question. Simply women movement is asked, you need to add a lot of contemporary examples which is coming to you. After 1960s, development in the economic and political system led to structural transformation in the nature of women movement. So you can see Panchayat Raj institutions, women are getting reservation and women leadership is seen more. Okay, even though you can see Sarpanch Padi, that the husband is actually the person who is ruling by keeping a dummy Panchayat president. Okay, so the wife will act as a dummy only, but still I hope you might be knowing the Sarpanch Padi concept. So Panchayat Raj institution that actually gave mobility to women. Then reservation movement, like reservation in the parliament and legislative assembly. Okay. So these follow a typical political approach for women's liberation. Then RTI movement, a strong RTI movement is going on where women are participating at a very high level. These new movements, instead of addressing specific issues, aim at changing the structure which hinder the development. Okay, now, although the status of women have witnessed a tremendous change after independence, but the problem still persists. The relationship between men and women in Indian society is far from equal. Various recent initiatives like Right to Education, NREGA, gender budgeting, microfinance, and social security schemes for the workers of the unorganized sector aimed at improving the status of women in general with the wider influence. So this has to be the structure of your answer. So what all things I have discussed with you is actually in the pre-British period, it was mainly religious reform like Buddhism, etc. Address women question, Buddhism, Jainism, etc. Those were religious reform movements. Apart from that, when we talk about British time, it was based on some parent movement. Some other movement accommodated women issue like Brahmo Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, Arya Samaj, reformist movement, revivalist movement, peasant movement, national freedom struggle, all talking about women issue. Even the tribal movement, working class movement, all these were talking about women issues. But the issues were main issues: urban centered, elitist orientation, higher class got the benefit. Post-independence, developmental women movement aiming at economically improving the status of women, economic independence of women. For example, you can write this. Okay. Apart from that, you have post-independence ecological women movement. You need to write about these examples. Okay. Apart from that, issue-based women movement. Issue-based means specific issues. These are the examples. Now, post-90s, it is mainly reservations, parliament, state assemblies, Panchayat Raj institutions, RTI movement, etc. Now, this is your conclusion. You can make your own conclusion also in a better way.